All right, let's dive right into this explainer on what is absolutely the ultimate strategic shield for modern corporate management. We're talking about the BATNA. Look, if you're an executive or a business leader, you already know that literally every single day involves some form of high-stakes negotiation, right? Whether you're dealing with suppliers, locking in major clients, or even just wrangling internal stakeholders. So today, we are going to unpack a strategic tool that will completely change the power dynamic in literally any room you walk into. So, let me ask you, do you negotiate with your eyes closed? Because as a business leader, stepping into a high-stakes negotiation without a safety net, well, it leaves you completely vulnerable to terrible deals. If you don't know exactly what you're going to do if a deal falls apart, you're operating entirely on hope. And let's be real, in the world of corporate management, hope is definitely not a reliable strategy for protecting your business. Okay, here is our strategic roadmap for today. We'll define the core concept of BATNA, see how it protects your profitability, break down exactly how to build one, discuss the absolute rule of confidentiality, and finally, look at a real-world digital platform case study.
Let's move to Section 1, the concept of BATNA. This term was actually coined by Harvard negotiation project experts Roger Fisher and William Ury way back in their famous 1981 book, Getting to Yes. BATNA stands for the best alternative to a negotiated agreement. Basically, it's your absolute strongest fallback option when a deal goes south. You shouldn't think of it as just some passive backup plan. It's an active, highly advantageous course of action that you are ready to take the very moment the current deal stops serving your interests. And Fisher and Ury really hit the nail on the head here. They warned that without a BATNA, you were essentially flying blind. Entering discussions without knowing your alternatives practically forces you to accept unfavorable terms purely out of the fear of missing out. You end up accommodating the other side simply because you feel like you've got nowhere else to turn, and you completely surrender your leverage.
Moving right along to Section 2, protecting business profitability.
Now, look at the stark contrast here. When you negotiate without a BATNA, you're operating from a place of fear. You're super likely to just yield to pressure and accept the absolute bare minimum just to get a deal done and over with. But when you hold a superior alternative, the whole dynamic shifts. You set firm limits, you act with absolute confidence, and you maximize your profit margins, all because you know exactly what your time and your assets are worth somewhere else. Now, pay close attention to this, because a lot of professionals actually get this wrong. Do not confuse your BATNA with your lower limit. Your lower limit, or your bottom line, is just the absolute minimum you'll accept. It's a defensive threshold to keep you from losing too much. Your BATNA, on the other hand, is your offensive strategy. It is the active, profitable plan you're going to execute instead of settling for a bad deal.
Let's jump into Section 3, how to build your alternative.
Elite consultants don't just improvise, they use a rigorous methodology to build out this leverage. You really can't just guess your way into a strong position. So first, you brainstorm every single alternative action you could possibly take. Second, you objectively evaluate the costs and the potential ROI for each one. Third, you rank them. That top option, that's your true BATNA. And finally, you prepare a concrete action plan so you are 100% ready to pull the trigger if talks fail.
And you've got to rigorously test those options. If your BATNA is just a gut feeling, believe me, it will not hold up under the immense pressure of a boardroom negotiation. You need hard, quantitative data. We're talking market analysis, competitor research, and financial ROI simulations. You need to prove, not just to yourself, but to your stakeholders, that your alternative is objectively viable.
All right, Section 4, the confidentiality rule.
This right here is the golden rule of the strategic consultant. Treat your BATNA like a highly classified corporate secret. You maintain absolute silence until the decisive moment. Why? Because the very second you reveal your best alternative, you're showing the other side exactly what they need to offer to just barely beat it. You're effectively capping your own upside. Information is power, and you have to protect it.
If you play your trump card prematurely, you forfeit your leverage. Revealing it too early weakens your position and exposes your vulnerabilities. But if you reveal it at the exact decisive moment, like when talks have totally stalled and you are genuinely putting your coat on to walk out the door, it demonstrates immense strength. It forces the counterparty to completely adjust their offer right at the finish line to beat your alternative.
Let's ground this in reality with Section 5, Real Case Digital Platforms. Imagine you're an executive renegotiating a massive supplier contract with an online marketplace, and suddenly they demand exorbitant commissions and super restrictive terms. It's a classic vendor squeeze. The platform is crushing your margins and threatening your overall profitability. Now, if you don't have a BATNA here, you might complain a bit, but you're eventually going to sign that contract because you are totally dependent on their traffic.
But instead of just accepting those high fees as an unavoidable cost of doing business, our vendor completely shifts the paradigm. They build a powerful BATNA by mapping out a proprietary, direct-to-consumer online sales channel. Suddenly, they aren't trapped anymore. They built a totally viable, independent path to market.
And they didn't just bluff. By bringing the exact calculated financial cost in the ROI of building that direct channel to the table, the executive transforms a vague threat into an undeniable, authoritative bargaining chip. They use the rigorous math we talked about earlier. When they face down the platform, they know down to the dollar what it costs to walk away, which makes their position incredibly strong.
So before you step into your next critical boardroom meeting, I want you to ask yourself one vital question to ensure you never leave your profitability to chance. What is your BATNA for your next major negotiation this quarter? Seriously, don't operate from fear. Build your alternative, keep it strictly confidential, and use it as your ultimate strategic shield. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. I really hope this gives you the tools to command your next deal. Get out there, do the math, and whatever you do, never negotiate with your eyes closed.